Boom, boom. Welcome in, everybody. Gonna have a grand old time today on this little 24 by 24 inch canvas. So, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Friday Night Freestyle. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with your old pal Paint with Josh. Now, I want to show you guys these brand new Paint with Josh brushes. Oh, if they're not the prettiest looking thing you've ever seen in your life. Paint with Josh brushes. Now these are just the testers that we're going to be testing out this week of shows, and then we'll let them know how I like them and if there's anything else that needs to be changed up. But I like them, guys. If you saw the last two paintings that we did yesterday, they came out amazing. So I'm about to show you with the Paint with Josh brush set how we can get up here and do a little black hole and a seascape just using Paint with Josh brushes. Now, the brushes, if you don't fill them up with paint, right, they're going to split like an acrylic brush roll, because you can use this for acrylic and for oil painting. But for here, why don't we come out and let's start making a big old circle outside of our line, and then finally come in and touch. All right, there we go. We don't want to brighten up the inside of our circle, that's for sure. Just a little bit of our oil paint, and then whatever else is on here, we're just going to mush on and push on and let it roll out. You can already see it changing all these different colors. That's because before we did anything, we laid down all these colors all across our canvas, right? Let's come in with a Paint with Josh 1 inch. Look at how gorgeous, just gorgeous that is, right? Come in here and let's start to mix up our color. And whatever we can do, whatever colors are underneath our white is what's going to blend out. Now, we can obviously go back and add more white each time we go back and do this to cover over our acrylic marks that are out there. You can see the difference between the acrylic and what the oils look like, right? So let's come back in, let's get a little bit more paint on our brush this time. And maybe if we go across it with a bit more paint out there, it'll light up all kind of differently and crazily. Oh, it's gonna be a little orange patch or a gold patch over there. You're really cool. A little bit more of the paint, lighten up in different areas. Doesn't all have to be the prettiest thing you've ever seen or whatever, right? It's a galaxy. You're gonna have all sorts of colors and changes and all sorts of things happening out there. Remember, it's not a flat scene that we're painting. It's a depth-filled scene. So all the dark areas are places of faraway depth. And then your lighter areas are your more colorful, more close-up areas, right? The more we blend around with these clouds, the cooler little things you can get to happen. The more we push on this paint, right, the more it'll spread, into this pretty little yellow section over here. Turn it this way, leaving all those little crazy spots of bright and dark. We don't all have to be 100% the same. That's going to be no fun if we start mixing it up out there and they all are exactly the same. Pfft. Now, what colors did we put down for our backdrop, our undercolors for today? Can anybody take a guess? What colors do you think that we put down in order to make our undercolor background today? You let me know, and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong, right? It seems like a fair enough thing. Now, without washing off the brush or anything, just wiping it on a paper towel, we're going to go back in, load it up with a bit more paint. Doesn't have to be the craziest amount, just a little bit of extra paint. And you can see because we didn't fill it full, they kind of split a little bit. Perfectly okay. We don't need it to be a full brush. We'll come out here, start loading up over all that stuff, smushing it and mushing it and spinning it each time that we're doing it. Come out here, push and mush and spin, right? Just make it a weird, odd mess, because that's all a cloud is. That's all a universe is. All these crazy bits of stuff, right? And then we can go back in and decide how bright we want it, what's going to show through, what's not going to show, all up to us, right? We'll come in here, start to grab it and pull it and mix it, but we don't want the two colors to touch. Got to leave a bit of darkness in there, remember. Over here, we will blend that out a little bit more towards the edge and then down. And back up, and we'll grab some of this part and push it around. We get to decide what it looks like. This whole arm is coming out at us. That guy's flung around. They're all going to look like you're on this big disc, almost like the palette is out there like this, right? It's not flat up, and it's not so flat that we can't see it. It's kind of tilted a little bit, right? That's the kind of circle that we're painting out here, a little tilted circle. And the more that we mix around and play around with this paint, and the more it interacts with all the other little undercolors that are in there, the more fantastic little things will get to happen, right? Very small amount of pressure, minute amount of paint that are on the canvas. Let it blend in with all that color, right? All up to us. What do we want it to look like as it's whipping out and around? Look at all the gold and the blue. Oh, just fantastic, you guys. That Paint with Josh fan brush, I'm telling you, it'll drop it on at a random place. Boom, maybe some brightness over there and over here, trying to keep them disconnected. We don't need them to touch all the way. Not all the way. Come back and grab our brush and just soften it down, right? That's all we're doing is just flicking it a little bit, just to make it softer than it was. And with that extra amount of paint, we're covering over that acrylic line that we could see in there as kind of like our base line as it's wrapping in. Not everything has to be the same, guys, honestly. Let me know where you're watching from. What's your favorite sandwich? Look at those colors. Oh my. Oh my, they say. Now, same thing, little small Paint with Josh fan brush. Haven't wiped it, haven't washed it, haven't done anything with it. Let's come out here, kind of attach on, start dumping it off and across all of our colors. We don't want it to be a crazy straight line, which is why we mush it on there and get it all jaggedy and crazy, right? That way it can't be a perfect line. If you mush it on there randomly, how can it be perfect, right? Sometimes I feel that people, they stress too hard about trying to make their clouds a perfect thing, or their faraway trees, and trying to make them too perfect. And especially out here in space, you don't need anything to be perfect, quote unquote, especially a cloud, right? Really cool, guys. One more little arm, and then we'll get down into our ocean scene. What are we going to go do right after this show? We're all going to go check out Glitterwix, because she's going to fire up her candle live, and it's going to be awesome. If you like candles, that's the place to be. Remember, keeping a little space in between. This guy can roll out into all that blue mixture, and boom, over here, finally get into some yellow as his arms start sucking around and down into the thing, right? As far as we want to go. You can take it the whole way if you wanted to. Totally up to us. Guys, honestly, come in here to our brightest spot first, after we've already dabbed our brush off, just in case it's got blue on there. You don't want to bring your blue back into the center, right? Just like that, mixing it up, making it a little softer, a little harder to see. All these clouds and dust and gas all coming into the black hole at the same time. Right, and we're blending it backwards towards this cloud, but remember, try to keep a little space in between. You have to. I'm telling you, if you don't, it's going to look funky. I've done enough of these guys where we've tried to do them numerous ways, and if you don't make it bright enough, if you don't keep that separation, it just doesn't look the same. Look at all these little bits, right? The more we mix it up, the softer it starts to look, and then it might change. And you might go, ooh, that looks cool. Well, maybe we should do it over there. Maybe we should do this. Maybe we should do that. Right? We get to decide what it looks like, how our colors come down, how they mix up, and if we can get a spot where we can still see that acrylic under part, right, our little guideline, just come down with a bit more oil on the top, brighten up a little section out here, come back with a bit less pressure on our brush, and as we're blending it out with that less pressure, it's not mixing in with all of our paints, little undercolors that are down there as much. Right? So it stays brighter, covers over that little bit. Take that guy, blend him out. Now, do whatever you want to do. It's the best part about the galaxy. We get to do whatever we want, whatever we see fit, we can do. Now, right about there, beneath this guy, it's all going to be our water, and our water's going to come up and into our background. It's going to be really cool. So, let's see. Let's go wash off this Paint with Josh brush. This little guy. Just by dipping it into the thinner and then wiping it onto our paper towel, running it back and forth. Cool little brush come back at us, right? Now let's see how it throws stars out. Let's see what that'll look like. If we get a little star action, it may not do it the best because I normally use a very, very, very small bristled brush in order to throw our stars. So just by adding a little bit of our pure liquid white, it's the only time you're allowed to use it on its own, we can come out here and start, oh, it's gorgeous. Holy cow, start flicking off all these little bits out into our night sky, trying to stay away from our black hole. Everything in the black hole is being sucked down into the center, right? Obviously, there will be some stars around it, But if you're close to it, try not to get anything into that black hole. Then it's going to look the best, right? We get down here, right around the edge, real bright with our stars. Lots of them, right around the edge of it. They get sparser as they go out to the edge. Is that a word? Sparser? It might be. We'll figure it out. Who's got the dictionary out? Let's see. Did we catch Josh making up new words today? We might have. It's a possibility. So you guys tell me where you're watching from. What's your favorite brush to use? Gotta tell me your favorite brush. What's your old favorite brush? If you're watching over on YouTube, make sure you give me a thumbs up over there. The more thumbs up we have, the more views the video will get. And that's why we do all this stuff, right? Now, let's come out again. We gotta get back to our little Paint with Josh fan brush. It just feels so good to say. The Paint with Josh fan brush, doesn't it? Just sounds fantastic. Now, out here, little guy, I'm gonna load him up. And then we're gonna decide where our ocean sits. Where's our horizon line for our ocean, right? Maybe back here, right along that blue bit above our eye of our wave. Right about there. All right, we'll come in here and just little blue line off in the night sky, right? See how we left a little bit of darkness right underneath that bit of cloud before the new section of white came in, or the new section of color anyway. Now the more that we drag over here, we're going to make a little triangle, right? It's going to go fatter on this side, skinnier as it gets all the way to the end. We'll go back and take our 1-inch brush. Now one of my favorite advantages to the the Paint with Josh 1-inch brush versus the Bob Ross 1-inch brush, right? Very similar in height. My brush is a little bit longer. You would think if you're matching there, the bristles are just about the same, but my handle's a bit longer down around the bottom. But the one advantage, look at the thinness, right? Have you ever tried to take a Bob Ross 1-inch brush and get into a really thin spot? A lot of times you end up touching in a place on your canvas when you don't want to. So the Paint with Josh 1-inch brush is very thin, and we can grab it, go right across our line all the way, making a little triangle. That's all we're trying to do, guys. A little touch of a triangle out there. Now, we've got to come in and decide on our little mustaches. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say mustaches? I mean, obviously not a mustache, right? Do you remember when we were kids and we used to paint water, quote unquote? We were going to paint the ocean. It was going to be like little dips, little whoop, 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 little waves like we used to do, right? It's exactly what we do nowadays being grown-ups. But we can call them little mustaches. So we go off to the side and off to the side. Just literally a up and a down. But I like to do it one at a time, right? Take this guy off of the right and just start dropping off some water, filling in the place. All we gotta do, right from the tip top. Not every piece is gonna be exactly the same amount of brightness or anything like that, right? It doesn't all have to be, it's not meant to be. Now, our next piece of big old mustache is gonna be our big crashing wave. So why don't we pick up the Paint with Josh our bigger fan brush, right? The big old Paint with Josh fan brush. I really like the size of this thing because it's real massive, but you don't have to use the whole brush. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about how you use it. Now we'll take our brush, just mainly loaded on the one side. Let's come down and swipe it right through there. Now our wave is going to continue up over our horizon and end up falling down the side. We're going to have a little touch of a eye right in there. Should be really gorgeous little bit of color. And with whatever color's left on our brush, or if we need to go back and get some new, we can start to streak back little things. Oh, look at how sharp those little lines are. Oh my goodness. Holy shaving cream, you guys. That is fantastic. The green back in there, I was figuring we'd get bright yellow or maybe some bright blue, but because they're mixing together, get that green. Flick a little bit back underneath our bit of wave, and it starts to become some shadow, right? Right underneath that little bit of water, a little bit of shadow. That's all we need. Now we can take our 1-inch brush, still haven't washed it, just basically dabbing it off on a paper towel over here is all we're doing. We're going to come into the lightest part first and start to get up there. Now you can see, just making little mini circles, or you can just wedge it right up underneath, and as close as you possibly can to that next bit of color without touching it. If you touch it, I'm going to come to your house. No, I'm just kidding. If you touch it, you're not going to have a good time, right? Then what happens? What happens when our eye of our wave touches the top of our wave? We're not going to be able to tell the difference anymore, right? We won't know what's the top, what's the front, which way it's going, because all the colors have now blended together. So we talk about it all the time, keeping this little dark separator is our little term for it, right? And it's just a little darkness in between. This one's a little bit bigger, you can see it a little bit more pronounced. This one's there, it's just smaller. We can't lose it. If we lose that little darkness, it's bad news. Don't do it. Now, let's grab up a little bit more paint. I'm going to use my whole brush this time. That's a big old brush. Got to turn it down a long ways and load it up because it's so massively huge. I like it though. Right? It doesn't. You don't have to use it all, and you don't have to use it each time that you do something. All right, we're going to come out here with our brush and just rotate it back and forth like this. Right, just basically spinning it with our fingers back and forth. We're going to come up here and touch right at the top. Rotate it over. Right? Maybe we'll go a little bit higher and rotate it over again. Maybe go a little higher, rotate it over again. How far are you throwing your water, right? We're not trying to throw it immediately straight down. We're trying to toss it all the way over towards the bottom corner of the canvas versus falling straight down instantly. Right? As we do that, it contacts our brush, turning all of our white paint a different color. Right? Come down in here, grab these guys up again, wiggle it down through our paint, over and over and over and over and over, boom, 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 right? Just like that. We've already come up and done this once or twice, right? So it's falling over. Now let's rotate our brush and touch it again and go that way. And so we'll have this bit of water shooting off to the side as well. This buff has already crashed. This is about to. This one has already hit, right? And we create a little point that we've got a term for. We call it a pivot point because we come back to that same spot and go down and down and down and down and down until we've created our little heart shape of a wave, right? Using that same little spot to pivot off of. Once we pivot off of that spot, it makes it more rounded. It makes it really cool. Now we'll come in here, throw our front bit of wave, adding a little bit extra paint, making it look like it's closer to us than our further away bit that's back here going the other direction, right? Off to the races, as they say. Now, our water has to come down and hit at some point. Maybe it came down and smacked onto the earth right there. And we start sliding backwards. Going backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards and boom, right? Eventually, we're going to run out of room. Now, these guys, they're very much a big, wide circle. And as we come in and get tighter and tighter and tighter, our circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller, right? So as we come up here, let's imagine we had a little bit of our color right down there, connecting our one bit of wave to the top piece of wave. And just like that, as long as they're going in different directions, you can start to see what's happening, right? So you get our bit of wave, it rolls down like that. Now this guy, same paint, same brush, out here making these big long things, but again, only touching right here. And you'll see my hand start to make more of a circle. The more we come in, you can see it already. It's starting to rotate and rotate and rotate and rotate and rotate, right? Going back before going up. That's your main secret. You must go backwards before you go upwards. You gotta roll it back and then go up, right? Then we can come in here, take whatever we like about it, whatever we don't like about it, spread it out a little bit more. Maybe we bring our wave color down a bit more onto this side, over here like that. Boom, 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 right? A little piece of water that's rolling back and forth. Very cool, guys. I like it. I like that one. Now, let's get that brush all washed up, because eventually it may end up getting too much paint on it. And I gotta get it off and wash it, right? Oh, I like those colors. Those are some colors, you guys. Whoo, baby. That's a color and a half, dude. Wait a minute, cha-ching, what'd you just say? Did somebody buy this one? Oh, cha-ching this painting before I do. He's like, somebody get this one before me, says Tyler Bradford. Well, thank you, Tyler. I appreciate you and all the paintings that you bought. And everyone else, all the paintings they bought. And not only that, right? You don't have to just spend money in order to get appreciated. Everybody who's tapped the screen, who's given me a thumbs up, who's shared one of my paintings, who's commented on one of my videos. You guys are all fabutastic in my book, right? Now, let's come underneath this guy and let's start dropping a little bit of our white color onto our sand, leaving a small little space in between. We don't have to fill it up all the way. Doesn't have to be crazy, right? Isn't that gorgeous? Aren't you ready to move on to the next step? Or does that not look like sand to you? You can be honest. You can tell me in the comments. It's fine. If you're like, bruv, that does not look like sand. For once, it's actually very true to color, to the eye on the screen and to my own eyeballs. It's very true to what it actually looks like in real life. Sometimes the lights and everything overexpose the colors, but now, obviously, I wouldn't leave the sand looking like that either. It looks terrible, right? And I'm going to tell you 3 things that we got to do. First, you got to be able to make sure that your Paint with Josh brush flips. If it flips, then you know you're good, right? First thing we need to do is pull down on our paint. Then we got to pull away or that way, and then we have to pull away or that way, whichever way, opposite, right? So that's my question to you. When we do pull down, do we do it very lightly and gently, or do we do it a lot with a lot of pressure, right? Few times, little pressure, lots of times, lots of pressure. What do you think? Tell me in the comments, and then we'll go back and I'll probably do both. If we get the equal comments, then I'll show you both ways. Wanda says hard. Raymond says a lot. Adriana says lots of pressure over here on YouTube. Courtney says lots. How much is this? I think it's $288, something like that. Soft, says KP. Shoni says hard. Let's see. Both, says Nicholas Collins. Well, if I'm going to give you a one or the other, it's going to be one or the other, right? So let's do it soft. We'll see. All the people that said soft, very soft pressure. I'm actually contacting the paint onto the brush. It is, I swear, even though it doesn't look like it's changing. So we're going very soft, right? And we'll go soft to the side, soft to the side. Now, everybody who said soft pressure, would you leave your sand looking just like this and move on to the next step? Or should we try it a bit harder and do it a bit more times? Right? What do you think? What do you think? Thanks, Sam. Appreciate you. All right, I wouldn't leave it looking like this. So let's come in with a bit more pressure and a bit more times, right? So we're really pushing in, bending the brush, pushing it all the way down, remembering to keep our dark separator, because we've been working on keeping our shadows, right? Lots of pressure, lots of times, going down, going down, going down, going down, right? Over and over and over, however you like it. Boom, lots of pressure, lots of times. Doesn't that look more like sand? Because remember, I told you, we got to do 3 things, and we've only done 1 so far. So you're still allowed to say no, it doesn't look like sand. I mean, it looks more like sand now than it did, right? But does it look like sand yet? Not really to me. Can you tell me what it does look like, though? Imagine if all of these, this one big streak and all that color were up here in the sky. Like, drag it out. Wouldn't it look like an aurora borealis? If it was up there in the sky, flipped upside down. And I told you we had to do 3 things. We had to pull it down. We had to pull it either one way or the other, and then again, vice versa, one way or the other. So that's your next question. Do we slide it away from the wave, or do we push it towards the wave first, and then vice versa, slide it away or towards the wave second? Right, away or towards? What do you think? What's going to make it look like sand? What's going to make it look sandy? Adriana over here on YouTube says towards the wave. To the wave first, says KP. Let's see. Left, then right, says Raymond. Towards, says Jordan. Away, says Wanda. Just like that, guys. Now think about it. We've been talking about these dark separators all the time, right? So if we were going to push all the color towards the wave first, right? We're going to get in there towards the wave. It's instantly going to push these colors together, right? They're going to be gone. There will be no more dark separator line anymore. So all we have to do is pull away from the wave first with that same amount of hard pressure that we were doing before, making all of our vertical streaks horizontal streaks, right? Taking out all that craziness. Boom, 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 boom. right? Dragging it away from the sand. And now our final step, we're going to skirt it over into the sand, just with the same amount of paint that's already here. Nothing extra added to the brush. We can come in and we can make a very small little dark line. And that small little dark line is our little shadow of our foamy bit. Now, obviously, every time we come into this dark area, we're dragging back darker color back out here. Don't worry, it's all good. We're going to come back in with our 2-inch brush or 1-inch brush or whatever. Do our whole thing over again with the white. Drag it down, lots of times, lots of pressure, away, and then if you need to, back towards the wave. It'll give it a bit more shininess over here. Now, watch what we can do with just a little bit of our liquid white. That liquidy white that we use for our stars that we're not supposed to use all on its own. What if we came in and dropped a little bit of that guy all on its own? Right there. It's very wet. It's very runny. We're going to come in and do the same exact thing. Pulling down, lots of pressure, lots of times, lots of pressure, lots of times. And this wet, runny paint will help it, right? Away from the wave first, Joshy. And then towards it. Boom, 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 boom. Right? With all these little colors. Makes it look a little bit more wet and shiny down there with that liquid white versus just your regular old titanium white. Now we've got to go in and mix up a whole bunch of our, well, I guess not a whole bunch, just a little bit of our Paint with Josh plaque. What is that, you're asking? Well, check the comments. If you don't know, it's okay if you're brand new and you don't know what the 3-color mix is. But if you do know, please type it into the comments. You might be helping somebody else. You'll see a lot of BBC in there that you might not know what that means. So keep an eye out on the comments for the one person who's actually helping me out and typing out the real colors all out in one, not in one word, but all out for everyone else who's just coming in and learning to be able to read, right? Do we know those colors, guys? Do we know them? What do we call it, though? What are we going to call this painting? That's a very good question, KP. Because around here, the Paint with Josh show, if the painting sells during the live show, the buyer actually gets to name the painting. And if it doesn't sell during the live show, then the crowd gets to throw out name suggestions, and then I pick the best one from the crowd. So we're not there yet, but if you think you got a good name, keep it up here, and in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you to drop it into the comments section, and that way, you can help me name this painting. And it'll be named that forever and eternity. All right, let's see what this old Paint with Josh fan brush does for a seascape, right? So once we've mixed up all of our deep dark colors, we're going to come in, just get it onto one corner, just loading it kind of vice versa. So we got one on that side, one on this side, wiggling it together, loading it full, right? And they'll stay together if they're full enough versus the side that has nothing on it, which is starting to split apart. Now, we've talked about our dark separator that we're going to come in, right? You can always go back, drag these little bits out just to soften them down, and then drag this guy over the smallest bit. All right, we're going to go back over this whole section with our 1-inch brush anyway. Might as well do it now. Drag it up through here. Just makes it really soft. You know what I mean? It's very velvety versus seeing any of our brush marks from our fan brush the first time. Now again, we're going to take our corner, this little dark separator that we're following along, we need to attach to about right here as it starts to crest over. So we're going to smack in little baby things. And the more that we tap up, the more it's going to project little sharp bits of water and all sorts of stuff that are crashing down as our water folds over into a billion pieces. We come down here. We don't really worry about the very bottom, right? I'm not trying to go down and get all the way around the bottom. You have to go through and cut it. Eventually, you're cutting through all that wave color, all your brightness as you come over through here. Oh, look at the sharp little watery splashy bits that Paint with Josh fan brush makes. Boy, oh boy. Poo-boo! Right? Come over here and just start smashing. Literally, everywhere that's beneath what we've already done is all spray and cloudy mix. As it's getting up there, we're just covering over our things, blending them in as our water gets down closer. You can have a little shadow as it curls down and around, right? Very, very cool. Now we've got to wash this brush off because we've got to come back in and do it all again, but with highlight color, right? And that highlight color is going to help our wave look much, much, much more like water. So, if you've never seen it, trust the process. It's coming. It's coming. Go over there like that. Clean off our little brush. And you guys can see, I'm like, oh my, I'm really trying to hurt these Paint with Josh brushes. Just because that's how, might be how you clean them, right? I never know. So I'm trying to be overly rough with them so that they'll pass the vigorous testing, you know what I mean, that goes into our paintings. Now again, going to turn our liquid white into our titanium white and make them just about in between both, right? The titanium white I always think of as frozen ice cream, just like regular old ice cream, vanilla ice cream. And then the liquid white is our runny, milky, like melted ice cream. So if we mix them together, and you kind of find that mid-ground in between, then we can come back in, and let's see, let's jump back a little bit, start dropping off, oh my God, the prettiest little things you've ever seen. Launching all these crazy little bits as they're folding over. Now, I'm not going to try to cover all of my water, right? All of the dark underneath. We're not trying to cover all of that. Don't you dare try to cover all of that, right? Get in there like that. Now, once we're down here, this part, honestly, it does not matter. I could give two poops about it. Really, like, all we're doing is smashing on our white all across our canvas in little differences, different ways, different things, right? Now, why do we do that? Even though we've just smashed on all that bit of white, what have we left in between all those pieces? What have we left? Anybody know? While we take the Paint with Josh 1-inch brush. Thanks, Dolly. Appreciate ya. Soft serve. It's even more runnier than soft serve would be. Man, that picture is so crisp on TikTok. Dark separators, says Janice. Tyler Bradford. Even Tyler knows the dark separators, right? So when we come back in with our 1-inch brush and we start to mix it, that mixing with our separations leaves room for the light to turn dark or, you know, be bright in some areas, be darker in other areas. We don't want to go all the way up. We just want to go a little bit. Not everything is going to look all the same. All right, down here it's already hit. It can be more pressurized. All this stuff, bang, just like that. Now, we're going to do that, not once, but twice. So, let's go back, grab our brush again. Load it back up with our liquid white because you have to have both in order for it to work. You can't just do one or the other. It will not work with one or the other. This time let's get both of our corners all loaded up. Boom, boom, boom. We go back and maybe hit a couple little areas that I wanted to change or fix. Right, just a few times. Those are our finish. You don't want to not like them because that's your finished look right there. Everything about that, nothing gets touched. And by the time we come down here, again, smacking it in, changing the shape of our brush, rolling it over, smacking it again, turning it, maybe it's upside down, maybe we're hitting over here. However we can to get a few little spots of white out on the canvas, right? And sometimes we don't get enough. So let's go ahead and make some more. Just odd little bits, honestly. That's all it is. We can just mush it against the canvas because we're going to go back and mix it anyway, right? Now, let's go back with our 1-inch brush. Oh, what a flip. Caught it too. We come in here. Now we're going to mix less than we did before. Not even everywhere, right? Some places maybe we'll mix a bit more to get our shadows down here right. But I don't want to touch every place the same. Bam, that's it, right? Some places barely got touched. This place didn't get touched at all. That place barely at all. This place kind of more. That place more than others. So it's different, right? All we want it to be is be different. That way when we come in with our final step, our liquid white spray, the watery spray, right? It's going to cover over all these little differences and give us more depth, as well as blending in with all of our stars. Are you ready to see it? There's one thing about this part though. It's vital, vital, vital part, right? If you don't make the sound effects, it doesn't work. just launching. Spray, water, everywhere, right? Now, this is a very specific, a very person, self-specific thing. How do you like it? Do you like it with a lot of sprays? Or do you like it with just a few? How does yours look? Because sometimes you don't need every single one to go launching off and keep doing and keep doing and keep doing it, right? It doesn't need to be like that for everyone's. For mine, I want it to be a bit brighter. So I'm going to keep going back, wiping off my brush, coming back in here, laying out the paint, and then flicking it again as many times as we need to in order to get it as thick as I want it to be, right? Boom, 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 boom. Just covering over some of our brushed out area that we'd already hit. And that way you have to look through all of these little spots to be able to see our brush marks. That's exactly what I want, right? I don't know about you guys, but that's what I want to see. And so that's how I paint it. Come in here real heavy and real close. And that way, be real tight to our spot in there. Launching! See? Just brighten up that area with our spray. It's all right to have some shooting out of the tunnel. It's got to remain a little darker. We've got our water on the top. Bits off to the side. It's a really nice one, guys. Really, really, really cool one. One little bit of brightness on that bit. I mean, it looks so much better. All right, now, let's see if we can get our little fan brush nice and clean, or clean enough anyway. Clean enough. That's all we need. Like that. Over here, back and forth. Wipe that guy off on a paper towel. Come in here to our titanium white. Let's just throw a little bit of foaminess on our water. Right, so we got a bit back here. Just a weird little shape. All we're gonna do is drag back very slightly from that little shape. Right, just depositing a little bit of white paint as we go. Over and over and over and over. Sometimes you can get a little longer, sometimes you get a little shorter. Doesn't all have to be the same. Right, just like that. A little bit of weirdness, a little bit of softness to it. Adds that touch of our foamy, watery bit. Hey, look however you want it to look. Totally up to you. It's literally the best part about at least that part of the painting. This is totally person specific. What do you want it to look like? Wicked cool. Wicked cool. Alright, let's get one more little bit of brightness if we can. Just right on the edge of this little guy, especially when we start coming out of our shadowy spot. Brightened up and along the edge of him. Drag some of it back and up underneath, and then it's all going to get lost. But you can see how we're following our lines. Right? That's what it's all about. Following our lines, brightening it up a little bit. So you can tell this side of our wave is a little bit closer, and it's going to get shadowier and shadowier and shadowier as we get back into our little place back here. Right? So we get darker and darker and darker and darker and darker. Doesn't all have to be the same. Gorgeous. Gorgeous! You guys. Drag this one down a little bit more. Just connecting in with his sand. His little sandy buddy, right? Just like that. So our water kind of spilling down over, very lightly over our dark separator. Just in some places, right? Doesn't all have to be the same every time. Just like that. Leave that very small little line back there. That's kind of cool. Very neat. All right, let's get in here. And then we're going to throw our little bird family in, sign the sucker, and call it all good, guys. All good in the outer space neighborhood. Come off the bottom of these little dudes just to clean up the edge. Up there. Wiping it back. Hey, just like that. Quick and easy. Let's get these 2 or 3 more brushes washed off, guys. And then we'll be all set to go. So this is when I need you to start coming up with a title. What would you name this painting if it was up to you? If it was your best painting that you ever did. And you're like, you know what? This is the best one ever. I've got to name it something for the ages. Because everyone in the world is going to love this painting, right? I can already see it. Everyone's going to dig it. What would you name that painting? It doesn't happen for me anymore. There's like 3 people that like my art. Just about 3. That's okay. There we go. Brush is all cleaned up. Start coming up with a title for this one, guys. What would you call it? What are you gonna name it? One more big old brush, but it's not too dirty, so all good. There we go. That guy, dry off our brush. And then we'll spin the old camera around and have it really look cool. Just really. That guy now. There it is, the old Paint with Josh rigger brush. We'll do the old rigger brush. I'm deciding whether or not I want to keep this rigger brush because it's very small, makes very small little thin lines, or if we want to have that script liner, right? And they just need to send it to me as all. There we go. Big old chunk of paint stuck on that thing. You gotta make the sound effects or it doesn't work. Flying through, like it. Alright, so yeah, I'm stuck on whether or not to do the rigger or maybe have them send me the liner brush. We'll figure it out. I do like the rigger. It makes a very sharp point, but I had been talking all that crap about how I was gonna have a bigger, longer liner brush than Paint with Bram's liner brush. So if I stick with the rigger, that's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? I think I gotta be true to my word and get a longer liner brush than Paint with Bram's huge, immense, long liner brush. There we go. Just as rough with the rigger brush as I am with every other brush. Right, run it through my paper towel, comes out exactly the same shape that it went in. It's the only reason why I'm going with this company, you guys, because I've tried to hurt their brushes so bad, and every time they pop right back into place like UFO memory metals. Pops right back into place. So, that's a wicked cool painting. I like it. I like it, guys. And when I like it, everybody else likes it. A couple little dabs along the front right here. Just so I have to get my Paint with Josh brush dirty again. There we go. This one's easy enough to just wipe off, and if it goes bad, who cares, right? Gorgeous. All that. Very cool. All right, everybody over on. This one is. Are we good? What happened over here? Take me back to Eden. I like that. Galaxy, you guys are cool. Miss you and Bailey come back to Vegas. Thanks, Liz. Let's see. After being clean and dry, yours go hard. So, Aaron Rindo, you're probably dunking your brush in too much, right? Like if I'm gonna clean the 2-inch brush, right? And my level is right here. I'm not gonna go all the way down into it. That would be too much thinner in the brush. I only ever go just about 1/4 inch to maybe 1/2 inch into my thinner, and then I kind of agitate it while we're in there, pull it up, spin off the excess, go flip it into a can, and then beat the devil out of it onto our old bucket. But it's happened to me before, and then what we do is we take a paper towel, and I have my paper towels kind of folded over my table, so it's the same concept as this. You're hitting your brush, kind of splitting it, getting this excess wetness out. And even though I've already done it on my paper towel, there's still excess wetness coming out, right? I've already done it on my table, still doing it, right? You don't ever need to get it 100% dry. But the drier that you do get it, the more chance you're gonna have soft brushes in the morning. All right, guys, so this one came out fantastic. I love everybody on Facebook and on YouTube. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you for being here, watching the show. I can't wait to see your guys' versions of this painting. So remember to send them in to facebook.com/official Paint with Josh. And until I see you guys again next time, take care. Have the rest of a good day. And bah, bah, poo-boo.